Well, of course, today is Brexit Day, and of course, one of the many irony-filled things about Brexit, as it always is that we will be leaving at 12 tonight at midnight. But of course, we won't be leaving at our time midnight. We'll be leaving at 11 o'clock tonight at our time because we're leaving at you guessed it, European time. And as I've said multiple times, the EU ain't going anywhere, despite what the Brexiteers have said that they hope other countries will follow. No other country is going to do this. It ain't going to happen. You look at support for European countries, it's through the roof. You look at Denmark, what was considered to be a very similar nation to us. Approval ratings for the EU went from before 2016 of 45% to the most recent ratings from last year to about 75%. It has killed the Eurosceptic movement in Denmark. The Danish Eurosceptic leader, can't remember his name now, has literally said Nigel Farage killed his movement in Denmark. And of course, we now get to Brexit itself, which I'm sorry to say, going off this article from the New Statesman, yeah, Brexit Day is no cause for celebration at all. It is the biggest moment of national humiliation and profound shame this country has ever known. So it's here. The day the United Kingdom leaves the European Union, the Brexiteers' long-awaited Independence Day. Apart from a few government-sponsored celebrations in Westminster this evening, and the gloating triumphalism of our pernicious tabloids, I detect no great outpouring of national joy over this rapture. Why would there be? The latest opinion polls show that half the country still opposes Brexit. Moreover, quote, the will of the people manifestly excludes the people of Scotland, Northern Ireland, London, and most of the rest of metropolitan England. The myth that has taken hold since last December's general election that Boris Johnson was swept into Downing Street on a riptide of popular enthusiasm for him and for Brexit is simply not true. Johnson won the election, but only because he faced a deeply divided opposition and a spectrally unelectable Labour leader in Jeremy Corbyn. He won because the first past the post system meant he could do so with a Conservative vote share of just 34.6% of the vote. Barely a percentage point more than the hapless Theresa May won in 2017, and less than the combined vote for the pro-Remain parties. He won not because of the electorate was gagging for Brexit, but because exhausted voters were seduced by his latest lie of Get Brexit Done. He won by running a vicious campaign of gimmicky photo ops and studiously avoiding tough interrogations. In that mission, he was aided and abetted by a disgraceful, sycophantic press, and also a small band of fanatical right-wing ideologues, once confined to the wider fringes of British politics, have successfully completed their hijacking of our country. Tonight, thanks to them, the UK will leave the most successful experiment in multinational collaboration the world has ever seen. We will withdraw from the biggest free trade area ever created. We will walk away from institutions in which, contrary to the Brexiteers' lies, Britain was a big and powerful member with plenty of allies in a long record of winning big strategic arguments. Instead of seeking to lead Europe and shape it in our image as a genuinely great country would do, we will be cutting and running. After 47 years of overwhelmingly beneficial, if sometimes fractious EU membership, we will be turning our backs on our loyal friends and allies. We will be undermining a pan-European construct which, for all its faults, has brought peace to the continent after centuries of war. It will be a moment not for pride, but for profound national shame. It will be an act of epic self-harm. The economy will not suddenly implode tomorrow morning, but it will gradually deflate as we prepare to leave the single market of 500 million people with no alternative or remotely comparable trading arrangements in sight. And as for foreign investments, understandably, choose to go elsewhere, our car industry is already shrinking. Far from Brexit being done, the truly hard negotiations to secure a trade deal with the EU have yet to start, and the spectre of a disastrous no-deal Brexit will return with a vengeance at the end of the transition period nears on December. Our quote, liberation from the EU will mean a growing subservience to Donald Trump's America. It will impair our freedom to live, work, study and travel anywhere in Europe. It will mean the loss of any say in EU decisions making, although decisions made in Brussels will inevitably continue to affect us. The ability of Johnson's Global Britain to rally the rest of Europe around incentives to fight climate change, counter Russian aggression, or halt Iran's nuclear program will be diminished. But our influence in Washington will also be diminished because we no longer provide a transatlantic bridge into the heart of Europe. The Brexiteers will claim that Britain has regained its sovereignty, although in truth we never lost it. We joined the EU because it was in our interest to do so, just as it was in our interest to join the UN, NATO, the WTO, FIFA, the International Olympic Committee, and a host of multinational organisations. But the price we could well see the breakup of Britain if Scotland is allowed to exert its own sovereignty and secede. No matter that the ugly reality of Brexit bears no relation to the summy promises made during the 2016 EU referendum, with the characteristic bombastic, Johnson still predicts a quote new golden age for the slumbering British giant as it pings off the guy ropes that have held it down. I sincerely hope the Prime Minister is right, but the truth is that he and his fellow Brexiteers have taken a huge and reckless gamble with the country's future, and it falls to those self-styled champions of the people will not be the ones to suffer. The victims of the disgruntled blue-collar workers from the left-behind North and the Midlands are whom Brexiteers misled with their lies and jingoistic xenophobic populism. So forgive me. I will not be out celebrating in Parliament Square tonight. I will stay at home, turn off the television, and mourn our divorce from the rest of Europe, and what I fear will prove this nation's greatest mistake. And I agree with him on that, 100%.